Talk about a paradigm shift. I asked Jim Cathcart how he broke into the international market, and he set the record straight. Likewise, Jim is clear on his continued efforts in outbound marketing. So, want to have a business that lasts for decades? Listen to this interview with Jim Cathcart and catch the original song at the end of this interview. And now, Jim Cathcart, CSP, Hall of Fame recipient, and Cavett Award winner.
There's a multitude of things I want to talk to you about because you are an icon in NSA, and yet you are, as an icon in NSA, literally traveling the world. You go to China, just like you were describing. You do programs, 6-hour programs, and you're a rock star.
It's amazing over there. But I did the same thing in Poland. 5,000 people, did a long presentation, keynote, and rocked it over there, and it was a similar experience. But the Chinese are just voracious for knowledge. They are sitting there leaning forward, they're taking notes, and they'll stick with you as long as you're able to share something. They are going to consume it.
Let's peel some layers of the onion back.
Okay.
Okay? You're in the Hall of Fame, you're a Cavett Award winner, you're a CSP.
As blessed as a man can be.
As blessed as a man can be. And for the past 4 years, you've been going to China. Tell us how you broke into the international market to begin with.
That's such a great question, because there is no breaking point to break into the international market, because literally there's no international market. There are clients in the world, and there are potential clients in the world, and some of them don't live here.
Okay.
And I think that's the best way to think about it. How did I get my international engagements over the years? And I've gone to France and to Monaco and all over creation, Australia and such. How did I get them? All of it was through domestic marketing. It was through doing what speakers do right here in the USA, working on an industry and getting the word out that I'm able to bring value. And then someone in that industry said, "Hey, mate, you ever been to Australia?" And no, I haven't. And then, well, you should talk to so-and-so. And then the next thing you know, your material's in the hands of a decision maker. And if you are respectful of their culture and their country and willing to be flexible on how things work because their systems are different, then you're likely to get an international engagement. Same thing happened in France. The client from over there was based in Belgium. He called the United States and said, "We're looking for people who can teach the American way to people in Europe." And he said, "I've been to the United States, I've been to all these big fancy consulting firms, they've wined and dined me. I came to California, you just treated me like another person who was a potential client, but you didn't try to win me over with money or fancy things, we just talked." And he said, "I want my people to be like you. So I'd like you to come to Aberdeen, Scotland. I want you to go to Brussels and Antwerp and Monaco. And could you do that?" Yeah. And so I gushed, tried not to, but I'll do it, yes. And that ended up being 6 trips to Europe off of that one thing, just being not some hyper fancy Wall Street level consultant, but being just the person I am and saying, this is what I teach and this is how it works and this is why it works, and I'd be happy to do that for you. That same client hired me again like 10 years later, and 10 years later, and 15 years later. In the last one, I had sent him a Christmas card in response to his Christmas message. And he said, "Hey, are you still doing your thing?" "Yeah, absolutely." He said, "Well, would you meet me in Orlando, Florida?" I said, "Well, I live on the other coast." He said, "Well, I'll fly you, I'll buy your ticket." So I met him in Orlando and got on his private jet, a Citation 10.
Oh, nice.
Fastest private plane in the sky. And we flew, just the two of us and the captain and co-pilot, to Toulouse, France. I got off the plane, we checked into a hotel, and I spoke at his meeting the next day and spent another day in France with them, and then flew back home. And that's just one example of many, many, many around the world, where I've gotten there because of what I was doing here, not because I was targeting Austria and finding out who the people were, but that being said, that works too. So if you want to cultivate events in Germany or wherever it happens to be, meet some people there, but remember, it's the successful things you do here that make you worth paying over there.
In your world, I know because of the caliber of program that you deliver that you get referral business, repeat and referral business.
Yeah.
But I also heard, I think, that you do outbound marketing.
I do. Oh, well, duh, right? I mean, how could we not, as speakers, do outbound marketing? Because if you just sit home and wait for it to come, you know, it's kind of like waiting for mail and you don't know anybody. It's going to be junk mail and you're going to have to throw it away.
Right.
Right? So outbound marketing has been my life as a speaker since the 1970s when I first got in the business full time.
So, Jim, how has outbound marketing changed from the time you got in the business to what you're doing today?
Two things have changed. The phones no longer have dials or wires.
Right.
But they're still phones.
Okay.
And it still requires that I call the other person. Okay. And the mail no longer needs an envelope and a stamp. It's digital. But it's still mail. And I still have to send it out personally and find out who the recipient should be and where they are. In other words, the fundamentals have not changed, only the media, only the tools have changed. And some of the protocols and expectations have changed. Like, people expect before you contact them, you've already been to their website. You've already figured out who they are. When I started in business, it was not at all strange for you to show up on somebody's front porch or on their phone call and say, Chuck, tell me a little bit about your business. Do you guys ever use outside speakers? Well, now they say, what? You hadn't been to our website? You didn't look at last year's expo and the speakers we had on the what? I don't have time for you. And they'd hang up. So that's what's changed. You know, we got to be more proactive, do our research in advance, and give them a reason to want to listen to us. Because if we don't show that we're already working on their behalf, why would they want to choose us over somebody else?
Right. That makes perfect sense. There are a number of people who have years of experience with NSA, like you.
Yep.
And some have said, I'm not sure what the value is today. Gee, it's changed.
Yeah.
The market has changed. And we don't necessarily see all of those folks. And I'd love to know what your message to them would be here on Voices of Experience.
I love what you just said. I don't know that I need NSA today because things have changed. Well, excuse me, that's the very reason you need NSA. Why do you come to Influence? Because that's where this profession is happening. If you want to know what the state of the art is in the field of professional speaking and training, this is it. This is where you see on the main platform the AV techniques and the drama and the performance quality and all that is literally state of the art. This is the highest expression of this in our craft at this time in history, right? And if you're not here, all you're seeing is whatever you happen to encounter at the various engagements you participate in around the country or through web feeds or something like that. But here, you not only see it, you feel it, experience it, and collaborate about it in the hallways afterwards. So, people say, well, the value of NSA is in the hallways. I don't go to the sessions. Excuse me. What happens in the hallways is 90% a discussion that was stimulated by what happened in the session. If you didn't go to the session, you're like a med student, and all of a sudden some guy from the auto shop comes up and joins your med student collaboration. That person didn't get it.
Right.
Right? So the sessions are what establishes the basis for the rich dialogue about application of that in your life and my life that occurs in the hallways and over dinner.
Jim, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
And for all of the information that is so incredibly valuable to our members here at NSA. We really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Chuck.
you.
I appreciate it.
In his 20s, he wanted to be Glenn Campbell. In his later years, he actually got to perform with Glenn Campbell. Please welcome Jim Cathcart.
Well, I started picking up the guitar and playing a lot more often about 5 or 6 years ago, and I've started incorporating it with some of my speaking, but mostly I do it separately as, you know, like a gig at a local nightclub. And Paula and I sing, my wife Paula and I sing together, and we've got some friends that join us, and we call the band Resume the Boom. Resume the economic boom, resume the revitalization of the baby boom, and it's the baby boomers are headed toward retirement. So many people are letting go. They seem to think achievement time is over. I'm here to tell them that it's time to grow. So resume the boom. It's time to call the roll again. Resume the boom. We'll rock and roll to the very end. Resume the boom. We still have our dreams, sweetheart. Restart, resume the boom. For way too long, I've been headed toward the exit. For way too long, I've forgotten to be me. For too long now, I've looked for strength from others, when all along I had the strength in me. So resume the boom. I swear I'll never grow old again. Resume the boom. We'll rock and roll to the very end. Resume the boom. We still have our dreams, sweetheart. We still have our dreams, while those without one are in paradise up above. Goal achievement is a thing we really love. We still have our dreams, sweetheart. Growing old takes no effort. It's really easy to swim downstream, but you were put here to truly make a difference. It all resumes when you begin to dream. So resume the boom. It's time to call the roll again. Resume the boom. We'll rock and roll to the very end. Resume the boom. We still have our dreams, sweetheart.